Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thank you so much for following the content. It's a pleasure to share with you the little knowledge that I have regarding some of this technology and lighting. Now, if you recognize the footage here, it's from a prior episode, and this was my beginnings in lighting, in particular the bat cycle. Since then, I have made several modifications to this bat cycle, and this time, the biggest modification is, or the upgrade I should say, is installing a rechargeable battery. Not only that, but the components are gonna have to be different. So all of the LEDs are completely different. And all of it comes from evandesigns.com. Well, everything but the battery. So let's get started and see how this was done. Now, the Night Rider chase lights from evandesigns.com are one of the units I used to make that change in my prior cycle. I decided to keep these lights for this particular new unit. I really like the way they look. They certainly give the vehicle a different look and character, and I'm going to go ahead and use these. These are 3-volt lights, and they are already pre-programmed to work just the way you see it here. Now, going over to the actual instrument cluster, it is split in half. And the great thing about this is that you work on one half and then you work on the other, which makes it so much easier to be able to get into the actual room area to actually wire these. If this was all closed together, it would be very difficult. Now, these are chip LEDs. These are also a 3-volt LED. And they are already pre-programmed to flicker just like you see it here, so they don't go off of a central board. You'll have to secure these once you drill the hole out with UV resin so that they stay in place. So if you only need one, it's great because it does flicker on its own. So let's move on to the rest of the project. Now, those larger holes that you see there, you can always plug those in with epoxy sculpt and then paint them back in black. And that will give you that nice clean look. But you have to have a larger opening, unfortunately, on this to slide that chip right through there and set it in place. Once you've installed all of your lights, it should look like this, and I do recommend you always do a lighting test to make sure everything is working. This is the tail light now installed. I cut down a 1/10 scale tail light and then I glued it on there. So this is not a custom resin sculpt. Now, this is what the entire unit looks like with, well, semi-assembled and the lights working. And yours should look like this if you've gotten this far. Now, this clip is from the prior project that I worked on, but I did the same on this current project. And this is how I installed the LEDs into the actual taillight. I did cut down a groove right down the center on the back, and I cut it into a T-shape at the top. That's where I installed those tiny LEDs. You do have to figure out the sequence, so you do have to have them on, and then place 3 on the left, 3 on the right, and secure it down with UV resin. Once you've secured it with a UV resin, you can take a square styrene rod, as you see there in the image, and then that is what you will fill in the cavity that's left from that cut that you made. Super glue is going to be your best friend, so just be careful not to get it onto your fingers. And decide if you want to start at the top or the bottom. Either way, the point is that you glue it down flush with the surface, allow it to dry, then come back in, sand, and repaint. And then install the LED which you have made or that you have cut down, and that way you'll have a finished piece ready to go. Now let's connect the battery that has the quick connect already attached onto the board to the other quick connect. Remember, it's very simple, red to red, black to black, and then we will do the same for the custom quick connect splitter that I had to make to be able to split the power between the headlamps and the tail lights and the instrument lights. Now, the connect with the instrument lights and tail lights has a resistor already attached onto it so that it controls the amount of voltage and does not burn out the batteries. I should say does not burn out the LEDs. And you'll see that resistor that I'm holding on to, the blue on the left-hand side, that's going to be the resistor that is connected to the right-hand side connector, and then the left connector will go to the headlamps. So let's get this thing rolling. So this is my custom lit screen, and I had to make this from a scrap piece of diffuser that was in the kitchen. It was actually one of the ceiling lights. So it is brittle. You do have to score it, cut it, shape it, sand it, and then you'll end up with something like this. But I wanted it to do it this way because I wanted it different than the others. And I wanted it to be easy to remove if I had to break open the cycle for any reason. So by doing it this way, it diffuses the light evenly across, and it looks so much better. Let me show you what this looks like. So once more, I want to show you these quick connects from evandesigns.com, and these are the ones that I use to connect the battery, and of course all of the other wiring to the battery, and that's what makes it so much quicker and easier to put this thing together. Now, of course, you still have to plan ahead and decide where you want that wiring to go, because there is a lot of different screws that can, well, you can cut the wiring, which is what I ended up doing. Anyway, these are the switches that I used. I used two of them, one for the headlamps and one for the instrument cluster. This is the recharge board for the LiPo battery. As you can tell, I have already attached my quick connect harnesses onto this. And let me show you what the actual cycle looks like now. It's all put together, and yeah, it's a pain in the butt to put all that spaghetti of wires in there. I want to share with you where I hid the switches, and just right underneath the cycle in front of the exhaust. Two switches, one for the headlamps as you see there, and the other one will control the tail light and the instrument cluster. And this works out so much better because then you can conserve the battery. You don't have to have the lights on, all of them at least, all at the same time. You can decide how much of that battery you want to use. Now the nice thing about this is that it's totally rechargeable. But take a look at the headlamps. I put in 4 LEDs at the front instead of just one large LED on each side, and I left them exposed because they have a bulb, and that bulb makes all the difference in the final look. It looks really cool. And of course, being white light, it really illuminates very, very bright. Now, this is what's nice. Take a look at this. The instrument cluster. Now, if you want your cycle to look like this, give me a call, drop me a line, and we'll talk about the price. And now you're wondering, where did I hide the USB-C? And here it is. Underneath this cap that I made, Not only did I hide the wires for the headlamps, but it fits tight. I thought I was going to have to use magnets, but I did not. It works out really well. Charges in about an hour. I don't have the charge and ready light on this one because it's just so tight of an area to work in. But in any case, I hope that you liked the video. I hope that you learned something today. And of course, don't forget to keep customizing your figures and your vehicles. We'll see you here next time. I'll leave you with some video, and we'll see you on the next one.